Buddha said, and the emptiness, and the sunyata mean our mind, the mind and body. It is not it is impermanent. Mind and body is impermanent. It's anatta. It's a Buddha's way, Buddha's opinion, and
that's
Buddha.
Why,
yeah.
That's why not only the four truths, not only the Four Noble Truths, we have to understand the true truths too, ultimate truth, and the conventional truth, right?
Yeah.
So the Buddha also has mentioned about, as I've told you earlier, there's a flower, we see it, right? It's a conventional level. But on the ultimate level, when we just try to go and see where's the flower, we won't find it. But it doesn't mean that flower, there's no existence of flower. There is, but how? Through the interdependent. So if we just say there's nothing, then there's a danger of falling into nihilism. Two extremes, nihilism and externalism. Nihilism are the people, they say there's nothing. Buddha didn't say this. So there's one book called The Universal in a Single Atom, written by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. You will find what are the 14 questions that was asked to him.
Yeah, so you mean the sunyata nirvana is nothing, is right?
Okay, just if I can interrupt because...
Emptiness, the shunyata, it's a negation of the inherent existence. It's not mean nothing.
1 second,
okay,
because I think Dr.
Thank you so
Mathia,
much. Okay,
I think we have a very interesting point of discussion between the Madhyamaka and Theravada tradition, so let's continue a bit more. Dr. Mathia.
Sorry to intercept the discussion, but I think that some presuppositions of the two schools should be somehow clarified to have a more fruitful and clear discussion. So one of the first point that we should take into account is that the Madhyamaka tradition starts from a different understanding of the Buddha Vajana. So this is one thing that we have to understand to begin with, which is the textual basis which is considered Buddha Vajana is slightly different. First of all, it includes both non-Mahayana and Mahayana sutras. Secondly, the non-Mahayana sutras are probably as preserved in the Sarvastivada tradition rather than as preserved in Pali. Furthermore, even when, for example, Nagarjuna says that there are some sutras which are non-Mahayana sutras which teach emptiness completely. But he says it's only very few, and his way of interpreting them is going to be very different from the way in which the Theravada, Abhidhamma, commentarial tradition understands it. So this is one thing we have to understand. The second point which I want to make is that I noticed many in the Theravada tradition think that when we have a Mahayana philosopher like Nagarjuna and they discuss the non-Mahayana position, they are discussing Theravada. Actually, mostly this is not the case. There is not so much direct contact between the Mahayana tradition and specific Theravada Abhidhamma positions such as the one you mentioned, the Abhidhammatta Sanghaho. Usually, the type of non-Mahayana which is the basis for some Mahayana practices as well as the target of their criticism is more from the Sarvastivada position, so Vaibhashika and Sautrantika school. And their form of Abhidharma is extremely different from the Theravada Abhidharma. It's really very, very different. So very often I notice that when Theravada scholars read the criticisms which one finds in Madhyamaka very directly, they don't recognize almost anything which is found in their own Abhidhamma texts, and they get very puzzled. How could this apply to us? I think it can apply, but only in a very indirect way, because the direct basis is more the Sarvastivada tradition, and this is really very different.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mathia. Next question.
Yes, just I want to say about the sunyata. we had, with the Theravada point of view, we have the two kind of sunyata. One is the yes, with no self. This is impermanent. This is mind and body. So this is the cause and effect. Because of we understanding dependent origination. That's why we can say one sunyata. What is sunyata? No self. This is one thing. Another one is if we practice deeply vipassana, if we understanding sunyata, and we can see a nature, dukkha, anatta, and at the end of this practicing, we can see the another sunyata. This is the nirvana. At that time, we cannot see mind and body. We cannot see the cause and effect. We see sunyata. This is the sunyata nirvana. This is the absolute peace. This is two kind of sunyata. This is my opinion. So one, I want to ask the one question between the vipassana and the paticcasamuppada. Some in the world vipassana, they don't understand paticcasamuppada, but they practice. They know that themselves they are vipassana. So how different without dependent origination, and do you deeply understanding dependent origination and then go to vipassana? Which different? Which way is right? Let me know.
Who would like to answer that question? Geshe. Is the question about the difference between intellectual understanding or contemplative understanding and then meditative understanding? Is this what you're asking about?
Yes.
Okay.
As you like.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
now I understand. Now I'm just trying to get your point. Over here, what do we say? No self, and the other one, the higher level, it comes no phenomena.
Yes.
We call it no phenomena. In Sanskrit, I don't know. In Tibetan, what do we call it? Chogi dangme. Kansagi dangme means no self. Chogi dangme means no phenomena. No phenomena, it's much more subtle. What do we say is it's a little bit much more subtle than the no self, trying to realize of the no self. And as compared between the no self and no phenomena is a little bit subtle. What do we give an example is when we smash the garlic, we take out the cloves. That is the no self. But the phenomena is still there. What remains? The stains, the smell. It's difficult to remove the smell and the stains. That's what we call no phenomena. It's an example of no self and no phenomena. Then when it comes to the meditation, we call it analytical meditation and one-pointedness meditation. So in the Buddhist, there are many monks who stays retreat. As I've told you earlier, I've shown you the path. Now you are master of yourself. So which means, first in the school, we have to listen, then understand. All these things, listening and understanding, right now, we all are doing analytical meditation right now. Meditation doesn't mean that stick at one place, close your eyes with a crossed leg like that. Right now, we are doing analytical meditation, analyze. Try to think first, then try to understand. To understand, discuss. Then one is develop a full, firm conviction, then one-pointedness meditation. As for the Shamatha and Vipassana too, we have lots of argument. Which one should we do first? Shamatha or Vipassana? Like that. If possible, first listen, understand. These all are meditation, analytical. Then comes in the end, one-pointedness meditation. Close the door, get away from the public, then trying to focus. Yes. Like, as I've told you earlier, that the Buddhist science, Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist religion. Okay, they says in the quantum physics, they says there is no kind of like absolute object. Like the same way in the Buddhism, they says there is no independent object. Now comes the Buddhist philosophy. Why? So many reasons. There are 4 main basic reasons. And some people, they can understand through the first one. Someone, they can understand through the second one. Some, they can understand the third one. So lots of possibilities to understand what the emptiness is, what the reality is. The things that we appear, is it reality? No. So what they say, sometimes perception stains the reality. So to understand it, like, oh, as I've told you earlier, the 5 blind people. If we ask them and if we let them to touch to the elephant, one will say, it's a huge belly. It is a huge trunk. It's a ponytail. But all of them are answers are right, but they don't have the clear answers. To understand, to have the clear picture of the whole elephant, we need to discuss. I didn't know that it has got a huge belly. I just thought it has a trunk. I didn't know that it has got a tusk. It has a tusk. Then, having the clear picture, then trying to understand it, then try to realize it. Like the same way, the dependent origination, right? Through the help of dependent origination, understanding the emptiness, no self and no phenomena. And the different commentaries are there. So we come and argue, then come to a conclusion. Yes, then with a firm conviction, meditating, one-pointedness. So, if you straight away go, emptiness, yes, everything is emptiness, doesn't work. Buddha said, show tolerance, show compassion. Buddha said, show tolerance and compassion. Meditating on it, it becomes a dogmatic, a blind faith. Why should I show compassion? What's the advantage of showing compassion? What's the advantage of disadvantage of showing not compassion? What's the advantage of showing not anger? What's the advantage of showing disadvantage of showing anger? By understanding these things, reasons, yes, I shouldn't show anger. Then only helps you to meditate peacefully. Like the Chinese Buddhist master, Shan said, don't try to listen, understand, then meditate. It's a wastage of time. Just think about nothingness. Yeah, nothingness helps. But for how long? As soon as we open our eyes, then everything is there. All the problem is there. So, the difference between the Buddhism and the modern psychology. Both the modern psychology and the Buddhism aims and objective is to help to a person who has got a mental problem. Modern psychology gives the medicine. Buddhism, what do we say? Think opposite. Do you feel anger? Think about love, compassion. Do you feel jealousy? Think about,
Yes.
Think about what? Rejoicement.
Okay.
Right. So we need
Thank
the
you.
logic. That's why His Holiness the Dalai Lama, what he says is we should be a 21st Buddhist practitioner. 21st Buddhist practitioner means develop a faith with the help of wisdom. So to get a wisdom, first we have to study, then meditate better.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much, Geshe. And Dr. Mithir just answered, and then Venerable Kondanikiti. 1 second.
I would like to add something to this reply, something very small, but a friend who is trained in the Burmese tradition once described a process similar to the one that you have mentioned as the second meaning of shunyata, namely that at some point in the process of vipassana, one shifts one's awareness away from the flow of momentary dhammas, and one's awareness is completely towards the nibbana dhatu, and at that point one is not perceiving the flow of the momentary dhammas. But that is not because the momentary dhammas don't exist. It's not because they are just samutti, it's because one's awareness is shifted towards the nibbana dhatu. From a Madhyamaka perspective, I think it's a little bit different. It's precisely by looking deeper and deeper into the arising and cessation of these dhammas that from a Madhyamaka perspective one understands that the very arising and cessation in some sense is not there, it's only conventional. So I think this would be a difference between these two traditions.
Okay, thank you, Mattia. Venerable.
Firstly, I want to thank all of you for your interesting presentation and discussion. My question is that, according to Theravada tradition, Prasadhamobhara has 12 links as a standard form, but Digha Nikaya has 9 links, as you know, and other Nikayas generally has 12 links. So in this case, Digha Nikaya commentary explain the reason why Sankhara and Avijja and Sankhara are excluded from the list. It is Sankhara and Avijja and Sankhara are related to past action. Vipassana is related to present action. That's why it's not related to each other. This is Digha Nikaya commentary explain. So, in this case, I want to know, are there 9 links in Sanskrit text, Sanskrit account, and a Tibetan account? If there are such cases, how will you explain and how we can understand? Because Avijja in Tanha is the main cause in the process of Prasadhamobhara. So this is the question.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, so we have a question about back to dependent origination and the exact number of links in this chain, and there are different formulations in Pali tradition. It's very difficult to understand. What about the Sanskrit North Indian tradition?
I have a very short answer for that. You should make sure that you come and listen to Ajahn Giuliano's talk. He can explain, because tomorrow, yes, because he has looked into parallel passages from Sanskrit and Pali texts, so, and also a little bit on this question of the number of the links, so he will be able to give you a very good answer.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is at 8:40 a.m. tomorrow. Dr. Giuliano Gustarini is talking about these different relationships and different numbers of links. It's part of your talk. Also tomorrow I will talk about different lengths of the division in teaching dependent origination. There are short accounts, there are long accounts. So we can start this discussion now and continue it tomorrow. Thank you for your question, Venerable. So we have a few more minutes. Any final questions? Yes, at the front here.
Venerable Professor Nokamla Dhammasami from Shan State Buddhist University. My question is for Dr. Mashum. As you know, the Dhammasaka Bhavadana Sutta is the heart of Buddhism. I mean, belong to all Buddhist schools. But the structure of Sutta is slightly different among the version. Similarly, the Paticca Samuppada also basic to all Buddhist school. Is there any difference between the version, I mean the structure of Paticca Samuppada? Is there, I mean the structure of Paticca Samuppada?
This is a question for Dr. Maxim. Perhaps you could tell us what you have in your text, Maxim.
Sorry, I will answer. Yes, there are different accounts indeed. At least one of the differences is if you read the Dhammaskandaka, you can find some alternation, like how one link depends on the next and the next depends on the prior, which it might be less common in other texts. So some of the alternations which are found in Pali sometimes are also found in Sanskrit texts. And certain Sanskrit texts are very close to the Pali text and the Pali account. So for example, the Dhammaskandaka, some sections are quite similar to the Vibhanga. So there are, but one thing is many of the Shravaka, the non-Mahayana texts in Sanskrit are lost and are available mostly in Chinese. Like many are available in Tibetan too, but actually not as a part of the Kangyur. Most of the non-Mahayana sutras are available as quotations from a single commentary on the Abhidharmakosha by Shamatadeva. So something can be found there too. But yes, it's a similar situation, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mattia. Geshe.
Sorry. So, let's say in Dharamsala we have got a Tibetan library, and also there are some of the monasteries, they have got a very old text which are preserved, especially in the Tibetan library they have preserved with a modern technology, and I met some of the Sangha community members who told me, oh, I've been to Dharamsala. So if you have been to the Dharamsala Tibetan Library, then you might have seen all these texts. So you will find 16th, 17th, 15th centuries texts, very old texts like that. And there are also, in Tibet, we have got different publications. So each publications, they comes in the different forms. So if you are interested and want to see, welcome to Dharamsala. And think that, oh, I know one Tibetan monk in Dharamsala.
Thank you, Geshe. There's a couple of minutes left and we will be finishing the session at 5 o'clock. One more question here, thanks. Oh, sorry, I didn't see. We'll come to you next.
Okay, thank you. Today we discuss about sunyata and then emptiness, okay? I think that there is 3 phenomena. One is from the Smoothie Sakja, okay? Another phenomena is from the Paramata Sakja. And the third phenomena is Riya Sakja, okay? In Smoothie Sakja, sunyata means emptiness, right? Emptiness in Smoothie Sakja, it is one of the mind state in Arupa Jhana that we call it Akinsa Nyadana Jhana. That jhana take the aramana about the emptiness, okay? And then in Paramata region or Paramata phenomena, okay? There is only Nama and Rupa, that is, in other words, cause and effect only, okay? In Riya Sakja, sunyata means there is nothing about the cause and effect, right? Okay, today we discuss what kinds of sunyata. Someone who really understands about the Decha Bada, and then he deeply understands about the Decha Bada, I think that he will understand about the sunyata nirvana. And then this is the final destination about the sunyata. Thank you.
Thank you for these points. So I think there's just one more question in the audience. If someone give a microphone.
Hello, my name is Solomon. I'm an MA student at this university. And my question is, I just saw a slide here, and if anyone of you can answer my question, I would be very much appreciate. I just want to know what is the correlation between the quantum physics and the Buddhism, and I don't know how to relate it. So if anyone can
This
give
is
me
a
very
question
brief
for Geshe, I think.
explanation.
Not too long this time, Geshe.
I'll just try to put it in a nutshell. So some of the people, they might be, let's say, like a little bit confused how the science and the Buddhism, they talk. In the science, we don't talk about all the topics. We talk about the modern psychology, and we talk about the quantum physics, and we talk about the neurology, and we talk about the cosmology. Cosmology more related with the Vasubandhu's text, the Abhidhammakosha. Then with the neurology, it's something to do with the brain. What happens when we get anger? What happens when we try to show the compassion? How it affects our brains. With the Kentucky University and Stanford University, so they are doing lots of research. And lots of Tibetan monks, they was like invited over there, and they are doing research on the brains. Then with the quantum physics, it's now the scientists, physicists, what do they say is, there is no kind of like absolute object. And in the emptiness too, in the Buddhism, what do we say is, there is no kind of like inherent existence, independent existence. So it's all our interdependence. So over here, the dependent origination brings the topic in between the quantum physics and the emptiness. As the science, the quantum physics, now the question is, the quantum effects. Through the emptiness, we were able to bring down our attachment, right? So with the quantum physicists, are they able to bring down their attachment? So recently, a talk discussion went over there in Dhammasami, right? And with the modern psychology, of course, the Buddhism in Tibetan, we call it che. Che means transformation of one's mind from bad to good. So modern psychology, the aims and objective is to help to a patient who has got a mental problem, right? So these are the 4 major topics that we talk with the science. So we should be proud, why? Because so the Einstein also has mentioned it's only the Buddhism who can go side by side with the science. So later on, like we don't have much time, maybe we can discuss outside.
That is truly a big question to discuss, and we had only 1 minute left, so impossible, but thanks for the question. And so, yeah, I think this panel is finished. Thanks, everybody, for attending. And we resume tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock.
We would like to appreciate the panel for all the very valuable contributions that you all have made. And we learned a lot about how Indo-Tibetan Buddhism tradition look at Paticcasamuppada, and at the same time, very active and lively discussion with the scholarly explanation, clear-cut answers, and the practitioner's view. So I'm very grateful and very glad that we all had created a very warm academic atmosphere, and I hope that you all so enjoy being with us at this panel. So this is time to show our appreciation. So may I humbly invite Dr. Alex, our head of the department at the Pali Studies, to present the certificate and the souvenir to the chair and the speakers.